Andrew Toney was on the trajectory of becoming one of the greatest shooting guards in NBA history, but his career prematurely ended before he had the opportunity to do so. On today's episode of What If, we examine the career of Andrew Toney.
I feared Andrew Toney even more than Michael Jordan.
Henderson with 12. Ainge all over Toney. Toney going up anyway.
He was not just a great scorer, a guy that wanted to beat you up and score.
He is a machine today.
Here they come. 3-on-2. Toney against Bird. What a move. What a move. And that basketball count.
Born on November 23, 1957 in Birmingham, Alabama, Andrew Toney was an immediate basketball star, as he attended Glenn High School, where he averaged 31 points per game as a junior and 37 points per game as a senior, and he was named to the All-Southern, All-State, All-City, and All-District teams as a junior and senior, and he was also named Alabama's Mr. Basketball as a senior, and he led the Hawks to an 80-14 record during his tenure. And after his incredible high school career, he attended the University of Southwestern Louisiana, where he established himself as one of the best players and scorers in men's college basketball, as he averaged 21 points per game as a freshman, 24 points per game as a sophomore, 23 points per game as a junior, and 26 points per game as a senior. And he was named Southland Conference Player of the Year in 1977 and 1979. And he was also named First Team All-Southland Conference in 1978, 1979, and 1980. And at the end of his collegiate career, he finished with 2,526 points, which was the 13th highest in NCAA history. And over his 107-game collegiate career, he averaged 23.6 points, 3.7 assists, and 3.2 rebounds per game. And after his stellar collegiate career, the Philadelphia 76ers selected him with the 8th pick in the 1980 NBA draft, and he made an immediate impact as he averaged 13 points and 3 assists as a rookie. But in his sophomore year, he would make an even bigger impact as he averaged 16.5 points and 3.7 assists per game. But it was what he did in the playoffs that announced him as a NBA star. As in the 1982 Eastern Conference semifinals against the Milwaukee Bucks, he averaged 19.5 points and 3 assists per game, including scoring 26 points in Game 1 and 31 points in Game 2. And then in the 1982 Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics, he averaged 22 points per game in that series, including 30 points in Game 2, 39 points in Game 4, and then in Game 7, he would save his best for last as he had 34 points to send the Sixers to the 1982 NBA Finals. And during the finals against the Los Angeles Lakers, he averaged 26 points, 7.8 assists, 2.7 rebounds per game while shooting 53% from the floor, 75% from 3, and 86% from the free throw line. And at this point, everyone knew that Andrew Toney was going to be a star for years to come, because he was one of the most prolific scorers we had ever seen. As he was very athletic, he was a really good finisher around the rim, he was a really good ball handler, had a sweet mid-range pull-up shot, and he was a pretty solid three-point shooter. He was just an all-around package. And during the 1982 Eastern Conference Finals, he was dubbed the Boston Strangler because, again, he had a legendary series against the Celtics. And although the Sixers lost the 1982 Finals, Andrew Toney was on his way to becoming the next big star in the NBA. And then the following season in 1983, he made his first All-Star appearance as he averaged 19.7 points, 4.5 assists, and 2.8 rebounds per game. And like he did in 1982, in 1983 against the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, he had a team high 22.2 points per game, including 30 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds in the series clinching Game 5. And then in the 1983 NBA Finals against the LA Lakers, he averaged 22 points, 5.8 assists, and 2.3 rebounds per game. And unlike in 1982 when the Sixers lost to the Lakers, in 1983 they swept the Lakers to win their first championship. And then in 1984 he had another successful season, making his second All-Star appearance as he averaged 24.4 points, 4.8 assists, and 2.5 rebounds per game. And although the Sixers lost in the 1984 playoffs to the New Jersey Nets, he averaged 20.6 points, during that 5-game series. And then the following year in 1985, he would average 17.8 points, 5.2 assists, and 2.5 rebounds per game. And due to his success in December of 1985, the Sixers signed him to a 7-year, $6 million contract. But unfortunately, in April of 1985, he sustained a sprained left ankle, but the organization felt like he was going to be able to play through the pain, so he ended up participating in the 1985 NBA playoffs, where he averaged 17 points, 3.8 assists, and 2 rebounds per game. So although he was not 100% healthy, he still made a tremendous impact. But at this time, I think players could tell that he was no longer the same player that he once was, because although he was still playing at a high level, he had lost some of the explosiveness and dynamic ability that made him the great scorer and the great player that he was. And after the conclusion of the 85 season, his relationship with the organization and Sixers management at that time was their owner Harold Katz significantly deteriorated, because again, they felt like he was healthy enough to play, but he was trying to explain to the organization that he was not, that he really needed surgery on his ankles, but they refused to listen to him. And in the 1986 season, he only appeared in 6 games as he was diagnosed with a stress fracture in his right foot. And in March of 1986, the Sixers team's doctor said he was capable of playing despite any pain he might experience, but Andrew Toney stated that the level of pain he was in would prevent him from being able to play. But Sixers owner Harold Katz publicly criticized him in the media and threatened to suspend Toney without pay if he did not play. So once again, the relationship between Andrew Toney and the Sixers management and Harold Katz just continued to deteriorate, because they did not believe that he was not healthy. Although he continued to tell them that he was not healthy, although he was diagnosed with a stress fracture in his right foot, they still were trying to push him to play. And he did end up coming back during that season, as he played 13 minutes on March 28th against the Milwaukee Bucks. But you could tell that he had lost so much of his explosiveness, so much of his athleticism, because he was not given the proper treatment that he needed for his ankles. And then the following year, he played in 52 games, but he only averaged 10.6 points per game and 3 assists per game. And then in 1987, he would only appear in 29 games, averaging 18 minutes per game. And then in 1989, right before training camp, he was suspended by the Sixers, and he ended up retiring in February of 1989, ending his once promising NBA career. And I believe that this is one of the biggest what ifs in NBA history, because Andrew Toney was on the trajectory of becoming one of the best scorers and players in NBA history. I really believe that if he had received the proper treatment on his ankles, y'all, we're talking about a guy that would be one of the top scorers in NBA history and would be an NBA Hall of Famer. I mean, he was so talented. Again, just such a dangerous, deadly, and elite scorer. Also, was a really good passer. Had just had so much confidence and tenacity and physicality about him. He was on the trajectory of being one of the legends of the NBA, but unfortunately, his owner, his management, y'all, did not believe he was truly injured. And if they believed him, and if he had gotten a proper treatment on his ankles, and I think this would have totally changed the trajectory of the 1980s, y'all, because even when Dr. J retired and Moses Malone got older, the Sixers still would have been really good, because you would have had a young Charles Barkley and a young Andrew Toney, y'all. I think they would have been one of the best duos in the NBA, and I definitely think they would have made things a lot difficult for the Celtics in the 80s, y'all. Maybe the Celtics don't win those championships in the 80s if Andrew Toney remains healthy. And also, I don't believe Charles Barkley leaves the Sixers if Andrew Toney remains healthy, because Charles Barkley stated multiple times that Andrew Toney was the most talented player that he ever played with during his NBA career. So can you imagine if Andrew Toney stayed healthy, y'all, with a young Charles Barkley? They would have been an amazing duo for years to come. Again, would have totally changed the trajectory of the NBA in the 80s, y'all. But it also would have just changed the trajectory of the NBA history, because again, you think of the great scorers, the great shooting guards in NBA history, is Michael Jordan, it's the late great Kobe Bryant, it's Clyde Drexler, it's the late great Jerry West. We definitely would have mentioned Mr. Andrew Toney's name if he had remained healthy, y'all. And it's just so unfortunate, because he had all the talent, had all the ability in the world, but unfortunately, his owner, his management did not believe him. They did not believe he was as injured as he really was, y'all. And if he just played for a different team, played for a different owner that truly believed him, that knew that he needed to get the proper treatment for his ankles, Andrew Toney definitely would have become one of the greatest scorers and players in NBA history. But I'm still thankful for the contributions that he had to the NBA, y'all, because he is truly one of the most dynamic scorers we've ever seen. So there you have it, man. This was the what if story of Andrew Toney and why he was on a trajectory becoming one of the greatest players and scorers in NBA history. But unfortunate injuries prevented him from doing so. Remember, y'all, last good message of what makes you today dose. And I'm in him, and I love y'all. God bless. Peace.